Georgia's highway patrol doesn't mess around when it comes to speed. With a fleet of Dodge Chargers and a new arsenal of souped-up Chevrolet Camaros added in 2022, they're built to catch almost anything on the road. But on March 27, 2022, a different beast tried to outrun them. A 2015 BMW, clocked at 108 miles per hour in a 65 zone. The driver, Deontay Dougherty. Trooper Swain pulled up behind the speeding BMW and followed as it veered off the highway. For a second, it looked like Deontay was going to pull over on the exit ramp. But then, he floored it. Behind the wheel, Deontay had 2 young women with him, something the officers might not have known at the time. But that didn't change his actions. Up until now, he'd kept the chase on I-75, northwest of downtown Atlanta. But then, he made a risky decision, diving straight into the heart of the city. Flying through red lights and cutting across traffic with zero concern for anyone's safety, it was clear this chase needed to end, fast. One wrong move at those speeds, and it could have been catastrophic.
Somebody get south of us. We're coming back up towards the spring, towards the 10th. Clear, clear, clear. Clear, clear, clear. Clear left, clear right. I can see clear left. I can see clear right.
Finally, after a wild pursuit through the city streets, Deontay lost control and collided with multiple cars. When the dust settled and the sirens faded, the officers approached, ready to make the arrest. In a bizarre turn, Deontay and the troopers shared a few laughs about their cars. Even he had to admit, the GSP's Charger Hellcats were on a whole different level. He was slapped with a laundry list of charges, fleeing, reckless driving, and speeding, and with the damage done to several vehicles, it's still unclear who's footing the repair bill. One thing's for sure, hopefully, everyone had good insurance, because outrunning the law, that's a price no one wants to pay. An ordinary day on I-30 turned into a high-stakes pursuit for Arkansas State Police Officer Corbin Freeman. He was cruising eastbound when a speeding BMW roared up behind him, weaving dangerously through traffic. But as soon as the driver spotted Trooper Freeman's patrol car, he backed off the gas, trying to play it cool. Freeman wasn't fooled. He tailed the BMW, trying to catch a glimpse of the license plate. Then he decided it was time to act, flashing the lights for a traffic stop. But the second they blinked on, the young driver punched it and took off. Freeman went on the offensive, trying to set up a pit maneuver to end things quickly. But with traffic building up in the opposite lane, he had to pull back. One wrong move, and the BMW could have jumped the median and crashed head-on into someone. So Freeman stayed hot on his tail, watching as the driver blew through red lights and threaded the needle between cars. Seizing an opening, Freeman went for another pit maneuver. But this driver wasn't giving up without a fight. He swerved out of the way and kept on running. The chase eventually led into a parking lot, where the driver abandoned the car and bolted on foot. Freeman followed, leaping over a chain-link fence, but as he climbed, his hand slipped, slicing open on the sharp metal. Bleeding and in pain, he had no choice but to stop the chase. And back at the car, Freeman found the driver's 16-year-old brother still sitting inside. Police contacted the boy's mother, who claimed her son was driving someone else's car. But when they searched it, they found more than just a reckless teen driver. Inside was 21.6 grams of prescription pills and a digital scale, a clear sign of something much bigger at play. This was no ordinary traffic stop. It was a dangerous game of cat and mouse that ended with shattered fences, bloodied hands, and a major drug bust.
Dale Shrewsbury is no stranger to the Marion County Sheriff's Office. At 35 years old, he'd already been arrested, and 13 times since 2006. His favorite crime? Driving on a suspended license, something he... away, disappearing behind a house for a brief moment. But that K9 unit stayed locked on, relentless. The dog in the passenger seat could barely contain his excitement, paws twitching with anticipation. For the K9, this chase wasn't just business. Chester, South Carolina, a small town with a big crime. Police pulled over 51-year-old Eric Bernard, who seemed willing to chat, until he hit the gas and led them on a high-speed chase that ended in a crash.
Right on, Astor Street, head northbound.
Once in handcuffs, officers searched his truck and found 112 grams of fentanyl and 56 grams of meth. On July 15, 2023, while being taken to prison, he escaped custody and carjacked 2 people before jumping into a stolen blue Camaro. What followed was a high-speed chase through rural Wisconsin as Wesley dodged speak strips and veered into oncoming traffic. But suddenly, his car slowed down and came to a stop on a highway ramp. OnStar shut the engine down remotely after the car's owner reported it stolen. Officers swooped in, and Wesley, the so-called tough guy, broke down in tears when they pulled out their weapons. But don't let that fool you. He's a career criminal who'd already stolen a van, crashed it, and injured someone earlier that day. In the end, Wesley was shackled to a hospital bed, facing charges of carjacking, reckless endangerment, and battery on a police officer. With up to 40 years behind bars on the line, let's hope this time he stays put. Most people spend Valentine's Day with someone they love. But this South Carolina highway patrol officer? He spent it chasing a black Yukon through the night. It all started when the trooper spotted a brand new Yukon with paper tags. The driver had no plans to talk. He hit the gas and disappeared around a bend. The trooper lost him, but a quick slowdown at an intersection brought them back together. The chase continued through a residential area, with the suspect trying to shake the officer off his tail. But luck ran out when he turned down a dead-end road. Our trooper quickly spun around and stayed hot on his trail.
Left on Sabre Tree. Right on Bookman. He's in my yard. He's spinning out. I'm gonna box him in.
Despite the driver's front tire being damaged, he pushed on, kicking up a shower of sparks as he drove on pure metal. But there's no escaping a determined officer. They finally boxed him in and arrested him, while the suspect held something suspicious in his hand. We never learned his name or charges. All we know is he spent his Valentine's Day alone, in a jail cell. People flee from the police. It's usually because they're hiding something big, a warrant, drugs, or worse. But Jacqueline Maxon from Sunrise, Florida, wasn't your typical suspect. On March 29, 2024, Miami-Dade officers spotted her car zigzagging through traffic like a NASCAR driver on a mission. They flipped on the lights, but Jacqueline had other plans. She wasn't stopping for anyone. She punched the gas, squeezing through gaps in traffic, but congestion kept her from making a clean getaway.
Pull over right now. Pull over right now. BMW, pull over right now.
Our officer closed the distance as Jacqueline, in a panic, pulled up right behind another cop car. unwittingly boxing herself in. But this Florida woman was determined to make a run for it. Weaving and darting between more cars, she managed to slip past yet another police cruiser, leading officers on a wild chase across multiple counties. It was a high-stakes pursuit until officers finally got into position and decided to end it with a risky pit maneuver. From a trailing dash cam, we see it all go down. The crash spun Jacqueline's car into chaos, colliding with at least 2, maybe 3 other vehicles. Miraculously, no one was seriously hurt. When it was all over, officers asked her the one burning question. Why did she run? Her answer? The worst excuse they'd ever heard. Turns out Jacqueline wasn't on the run from the law. She was just running late for church. Seriously. Her reckless speed crusade earned her a handful of charges: reckless driving, eluding police, and resisting arrest. So let this be a lesson. Whatever your reason, it's never worth running from the cops. Because no matter how fast you are, you can't outrun the consequences. On July 6, 2024, Trooper Calvert joined the chase of a red Chevrolet pickup in North Little Rock. After taking control on East Broadway, the truck sped west at 40 miles per hour, refusing to stop. Two failed TVI attempts didn't slow the suspect down as he headed south over the Broadway Bridge. That's when Sergeant Gabe Monroe stepped in, nailing a perfect TVI that sent the truck crashing into a concrete barrier. Officers quickly pulled Wendell Jackson from the wreck and took him into custody, showing off the solid teamwork of law enforcement in this tough pursuit. Florida Highway Patrol received a report of a wrong-way driver on I-75 near mile marker 129. The driver, Reshbuck Master, was behind the wheel of a stolen black Kia, heading south in the northbound lane. FHP, with help from the Columbia County Sheriff's Office, jumped into action. Lights and sirens on, but Reshbuck ignored them, speeding up and weaving recklessly through traffic. He nearly lost control on the shoulder, but kept going. The chase led to a gas station, where Reshbuck ditched the car and fled on foot. He tried carjacking a Jeep Cherokee, but failed. Police closed in, arresting him and discovering a gun behind his belt. Hamilton County deputies set a perimeter and found a loaded firearm. Resh Buckmaster was arrested and hit with multiple charges. The K9 with damage and, of course, driving with a suspended license yet again. Florida Highway Patrol officers spotted 2 cars tearing down Interstate 4, a blazing orange Ford Mustang and a sleek white Porsche Panamera. They were weaving between cars and pushing their speeds past 120 miles per hour. What started as a joyride turned into a full-blown police pursuit. To the officers' surprise, the driver of the Mustang made a smart move. He pulled over and decided to face the consequences. But the Porsche, the driver had a different plan. He stomped on the gas and took off, leaving the Mustang and the officers in the dust. For a moment, it seemed like the pursuing officer was gearing up for a pit maneuver. But with traffic piling up, he had to think twice. A pit at these speeds could spell disaster for everyone on the road. Instead, the officers kept their distance, waiting for the right moment. And then, that moment came. The highway cleared, and they closed in, trying to box the Porsche in and end this chase once and for all. Just as it seemed the driver was trapped, he swerved and peeled away, narrowly escaping their grasp. He sped back up the highway, nearly vanishing into the darkness. But the officer wasn't letting him go. They followed as the Porsche exited the interstate and veered into a rural area. With no other drivers at risk, the officers weren't afraid to get a little more aggressive. They finally managed to force the Porsche to a stop, pinning him down. Both men were arrested. Details about their identities and charges remain scarce, but one thing is clear. What started as a reckless race ended in a dangerous chase that could have had deadly consequences. Hopefully the passenger turned out okay, and as for the driver, maybe now he's learned that street racing is no game. It's a fast track to ruining lives, including his own. June 27th, 2023, Arkansas. It all started when a 911 call came in, reporting a car dangerously speeding near Pine Bluff, Arkansas. By the time Sergeant Preston caught up, it was clear that Casey had no intention of stopping. He blew past another officer parked on the shoulder, who immediately joined the chase. This wasn't just a case of a lead foot. Casey's reckless driving put everyone around him at risk. He swerved in and out of lanes, showing little regard for human life. Sergeant Preston, positioned in the lead SUV, knew they needed to end this pursuit before things spiraled out of control. With the situation growing more dangerous by the second, Sergeant Preston zeroes in, looking for any opening to end it, and then he sees his chance. Casey's Lincoln spins out, screeching to a stop. Officers move in fast, guns drawn. Casey is quickly pulled out of the vehicle, ending the harrowing chase. He's cuffed and booked on charges of reckless driving and fleeing from law enforcement. Why did he run? That's still a mystery. No weapon. Most people spend Valentine's Day with someone they love. But this South Carolina Highway Patrol officer? He spent it chasing a black Yukon through the night. It all started when the trooper spotted a brand new Yukon with paper tags. The driver had no plans to talk. He hit the gas and disappeared around a bend. The trooper lost him, but a quick slowdown at an intersection brought them back together. The chase continued through a residential area, with the suspect trying to shake the officer off his tail. But luck ran out when he turned down a dead-end road. Our trooper quickly spun around and stayed hot on his trail. Despite the driver's front tire being damaged, he pushed on, kicking up a shower of sparks as he drove on pure metal. But there's no escaping a determined officer. They finally boxed him in and arrested him, while the suspect held something suspicious in his hand. We never learned his name or charges. All we know is he spent his Valentine's Day alone, in a jail cell. 9:43 p.m., and a Florida Highway Patrol trooper tries to pull over a car on I-75. The driver looks intoxicated, with a bag of white powder on the console. Before the trooper can act, she hits the gas and takes off. Speeding at 95 miles per hour, she slams the brakes, almost causing the trooper to crash into her. She's all over the road, brake checking again and nearly losing control. The trooper stays on her, but she veers off into the median and turns around. Now they're side by side, and the trooper makes his move. She's ejected from the car and takes off running across the interstate. The chase ends with the trooper tackling her to the pavement. Backup arrives, and 51-year-old Yana St. John is cuffed and packed into the patrol car. She's hit with 9 charges, including felony fleeing, DUI, third offense, and reckless driving. August 18th, 2024. Andre T. Hunter turns Washington Street into his personal racetrack, blasting through town in a red Dodge Ram like he's auditioning for Fast and Furious 20. He's swerving through lanes, treating traffic laws like a minor inconvenience.